So what really is a spiritual awakening? We hear it from everyone all over the place. It's everywhere. And everyone has their own definition of what a spiritual awakening really is or what it represents. Everyone goes through the awakening at different periods in their life. But what's most important to understand is each and every one will go through a spiritual awakening at some point when it is time for us to shift into different timelines, when it is ready to begin a new cycle in our life, a new beginning. So all of us do go through it. It's just most of us don't even know we're going through it or really don't understand what is going on. Because like I said, there is so much information out there about spiritual awakenings, but most people don't really understand when they are going through it. So they may think that they're sick or ill, or there's something wrong with them, or feel like they're going through a deep depression, mental health issues, physical illnesses. There's so many things that we can think or not know about what a spiritual awakening really represents. And a spiritual awakening does show up in those ways in our life. They'll show up as illnesses. They'll show up as physical problems. They'll show up as depression. They'll show up as mental illness. There's so many things. So again, people who don't really understand what a spiritual awakening is may just go into this place of fear, panic, because they think there's something wrong with them. But a spiritual awakening is not something that is going to be there forever. It's something that we go through. We allow ourselves to go through it. If we allow ourselves to go through it, we'll get through it a lot quicker and a lot smoother. But if we begin to resist what is being shown to us or what we need to look at, it does become more complicated. And it may take longer for us to get through it. Okay? And we may have to go through it several times, even though we do go through spiritual awakenings on all different levels when it comes to different situations, life-changing situations. It will bring us into that place of awakening, right? Why do we go through a lot of these hardships? Why do we go through these deep, dark moments in our lives? Why do we go through things like divorces and death and all of these things, trauma, and all of this stuff that we go through? Again, it is what our soul has chosen to learn so it can evolve. But it's also what is meant for us to go through to awaken us to the truth of who we truly are, right? Spiritual awakening, right? That's what it represents. So we go through a lot of trials and tribulations in our lives, a lot of major changes and trauma in our life so that we can awaken to the truth of what it all means, so that we can understand and we can grow with it, so that we can get, again, back to the place of divinity, unconditional love, understanding, right? It's when we get to the place of understanding what it all means is when we've truly awakened to who we really are and what our purpose was here and why we went through the things we went through. All right? So a spiritual awakening is when our soul is ready to move on, to continue to evolve and go into the next cycle of our lives. We go through cycles from birth on, right? We go through all different cycles. experiences, right? To learn whatever we need to learn from those experiences. So when our soul is ready to move on to the next part, we will be presented with challenges in our lives. We will be presented with life changes, life-altering changes in our lives. And again, it can show itself as grief from someone passing, a loved one passing. It can show up as losing a job that we were so used to, and now it's being ripped away from us. It can be triggered by divorce, by birth, by death. There's so many things that can trigger a spiritual awakening. Other things that can trigger a spiritual awakening is a car accident, right? It can be illness, mental health crisis, anxiety, or even a near-death experience. So again, it is when we are at a point in our lives where our soul is ready to go to the next level and level up. So we will go through the different phases and stages of a spiritual awakening, right? And sometimes it'll show up subtle. Sometimes it'll show up harsh. Sometimes it'll show up shaking our whole world, bringing it down, crashing, which represents the tower moment, right? Everything getting taken away from us, everything that we were familiar with, right? Relationships, all these different things that can really trigger a spiritual awakening is necessary for us to continue evolving. So we have to go through a lot of these changes, and sometimes it could just be we're just in this mundane life, we're bored and we're just ready for something different in our lives, or we feel like we've just done so much and now we're ready for something new, right? But the spiritual awakening can be triggered by any type of life-changing experience in our life, trauma, all of it, okay? And like I said, we go through spiritual awakenings more than once in our life, because if you think about the journey thus far, we have gone through different things in our lives, right? You know, we've experienced different things in our lives, so we have to continue evolving. And in order for us to get out of certain cycles, karmic cycles, we need to be awakened by a spiritual awakening. Okay? Even things like moving away. We're moving away somewhere that we've never been. You know, like my son, my youngest son, he just picked up and moved all the way to Tennessee by himself with his dog, which triggered a spiritual awakening for him, right? Because now you have to get used to a brand new way of being and living, right? The comforts of being home are no longer there. So now we have to create our own home again, you know? So things like that, anything that is life-changing is usually a trigger for a spiritual awakening. Okay? Even when we get to when we're in the spiritual awakening, we can also get triggered into a spiritual awakening or be activated into a spiritual awakening when we meet a twin flame or a soulmate. We begin the activation of a spiritual awakening. And this is when we have to look at ourselves completely different, and we have to go through all of these things, experiences, and it's just a way of really waking us up to the truth of who we are. So again, we will go through several spiritual awakenings in our lives, and we will go through different stages of awakening in our lifetime. So it's just understanding that you're not losing your mind. You're getting ready to level up to the next part. It's almost like, if you want to look at it as a game, it's like you completed one level, so now we have to go to the next level, complete that level, go to the next level, complete that level, go to the next level, until we are in complete balance and understanding and have connected. We can refer to it as enlightenment, right? Bliss, where we are at a place where we are at complete peace with ourselves. We have totally accepted every part of us, but we have to go through the different stages to get there. And it can take years. Sometimes it can take even lifetimes, right? So our soul is always evolving. It needs to evolve until we get to that place again of pure bliss and enlightenment. And then we become guides for other people, whether here in a physical existence or in spirit, which in my next lifetime, that is what I will be. I will be the spirit guide, guiding souls, even though that's what I do now, guide souls through their evolution, right? But when I pass on and transition over, I'm not coming back to this reality. I will be in a whole nother reality. And I will be, again, the spirit guide. The little nudge that you hear, the little voice inside your head guiding you from the other side. Whoever I'm assigned to. Who knows, right? But again, we don't want to make light of it, because it really is not it really is not a pleasant experience to go through, or pleasant experiences when we are going through spiritual awakenings. It can be mind-boggling. There can be so much that comes from it, and so much distress that comes from it as well, especially if we do not completely understand what is going on. So again, a spiritual awakening is triggered when there is a life-changing experience in our life that we are going through, or trauma. And it can be different things. It can be different things, like I mentioned earlier. Car accidents, trauma, death, illness, divorce, losing your job, losing your money. It can be so many things that really just put us into a very low place, because now what we've known and have gotten used to is being taken away from us, or we're being confronted with. So once we understand exactly when those spiritual awakenings begin for us, at whatever level and whatever part of your life, you will be able to go through it a lot easier with this newfound awareness and understanding of what it truly is representing in your life. It's not being done to you, it's being done for you. The universe steps in when it knows, and the divine will step in when it knows you are ready to go to the next part, the next cycle, the next place, the next level, right? You've been preparing for this your entire life. So it's just a matter of getting through it. You may have been preparing for it for lifetimes, right? It's just right now in this timeline that's being created now. It is a brand new timeline. It's a timeline that has never been created. And we are at a level of higher consciousness. And we could only get to that level of newfound awareness and higher consciousness when we can understand the journey, when we can embrace the journey, when we can allow ourselves to go through each and every one of those spiritual awakenings. Because those throat chakra work, those spiritual awakenings that we go through are designed to help you level up, move forward, and evolve.